Okay, Rhino cars. Are you an air conditioning kind of person, or are you windows down kind of person? I'm actually wondering. I haven't done this because I haven't had a microphone to work with, whatever. But now I got them, and I'm actually going to see how this works. What kind of person are you? Do you like driving around in a hermetically sealed car like this, nice and quiet? Or are you like the windows down? I asked this question because actually, when I started doing YouTube videos, I quickly realized that I had to completely seal the interior of the car so that it's nice and quiet to do videos. And I remember seeing this actually because I'm watching, the old Top Gear stuff, and there was a couple episodes. The running joke during that series was always killing the AC in James May's cars. And a lot of those videos you see, him sweating to death because they have to drive around doing these videos. You have to drive around with the windows rolled up. Because otherwise, I'll just open the sunroof as well. Otherwise, the videos sound like this. I'd have to raise my voice. You're obviously getting tons of wind noise. Now, I actually got the sunroof open. It's a little bit quieter. I'm actually wondering how well it's picking this up. But I will close it so that you guys don't have to suffer through all that noise. Now, my point about this is that I'm a windows down kind of person. I grew up in cars without air conditioning. It was rare actually for even our family car to not have air conditioning. And I don't know what that was like. Maybe back in the day, it just wasn't a big deal. Everybody went without air conditioning. Air conditioning was for, I don't know, rich people cars or whatever you want to say. Now it's like basically standard. For you to get a car without air conditioning is hard to come by, especially if you're out there buying a new car. I remember sitting there at Toyota, and this was still a time when air conditioning was an option. Uh, Two things that people would always want in their car, one more than the other, but there was always two things, even in the base models of the cheapest cars, sort of thing. Everybody wanted air conditioning as an extra option, and the next closest one was cruise control, because cars already had automatic windows, automatic locks, key fobs, the whole thing. Um, but like the Yaris or the Corolla, there was a package where no air conditioning and no cruise control. But people would ask specifically for AC most of the time, and about half the time it would be cruise control or cruise control and AC. Now, growing up in cars, driving 80s, 70s, and 80s cars, they didn't come standard. Nobody, there was rarely air conditioning in a car. Secondhand. So I rolled down the window and drove around like that, and I didn't have a problem, even on hot days, because on those days you just roll down all the windows and you just drive faster, which wasn't a problem for me. I enjoyed that, right? Uh, what it wasn't until Well, I did notice, like, after buying cars that had air conditioning and noticing the gas mileage, I noticed like there is a big difference. Big difference. But car dealers used to say, "Oh, it's negligible. It's a small percentage of." But MythBusters, the TV show, if you know what I'm talking about, they did a thing about air conditioning versus rolling down windows, and actually how much gas you save by rolling your windows down versus um, air conditioning on. They totally busted that out the window. Like there was a significant savings to not using air conditioning during a hot day. On excruciatingly hot days, like I'm talking above 25, where we're into 30s, 30 degrees Celsius, I will use air conditioning to cool down the car. And then I end up making a video, which means I can't roll down my windows, so I'm stuck using the air conditioning. Why? Why do I not use air conditioning? Why do I like the windows down? Rolling down the windows back in the day. The little 4 cylinders that I used to drive as a teenager, growing up, whatever it was, because that's all I bought. They were the funnest cars. But in order to, you got engine noise. The engines made wonderful noises. When you wind out an engine in high revs and stuff, they make beautiful noises. That's a beautiful car noise that goes by the wayside for most people. Mostly it's just exhaust that people want to hear. Wonderful exhaust noise. People will throw on a modified exhaust on their new cars to make it sound, beefy and muscly and sporty and things like that. Car makers have come up where they do tune exhausts for sports cars now so that you don't have to do it aftermarket, make the car sound wonderful, or even pipe it in through the stereo system now, because everybody drives around in hermetically sealed cars now. You go from a climate controlled office or a climate controlled home, get into you suffer, external temperatures of nature from your car to your house, or from your office to your car, and then get in your climate controlled car, And I've noticed that, because once I got married, my wife always wanted the air conditioning on. She didn't want to wreck her hair, that sort of thing. And even now, like I drive with my daughter, I'm a windows down, and she doesn't like it because it wrecks her hair. And same thing, driving around with people in the car. Everybody wants the windows up, right? They want the air conditioning on, and I don't like it. I really don't like it. I have a. Oh, I broke my mic. I actually do have a beef with it. Like, I'll suffer air conditioning for everybody else in the car, kind of thing. But why? Why? You know, I do like, as crappy as my old cars used to sound with their crappy exhausts, I did like to hear them revving through the exhaust. I did like to hear the engine noise. I do like this Hornet. Like, you do notice the wind noise and stuff in this car, the road noise. You can hear everything in this car. It is not luxury like that. This car, you hear road noise through the tires, but you do hear some engine noise, and you do hear the exhaust, and all of it sounds really nice in this car. We had a Toyota Camry. If you watched that video with my daughter, it was an appliance. It was quiet. Did everything a car is supposed to do, reliably, cheaply, the whole thing. But there was no soul to it. I like the windows rolled down too, because I like the wind. I like feeling the wind. I remember getting a motorcycle I had a CBR 600 F2. It was a 1991, I think it was. And just the feeling of the freedom, like the wind and seeing the road and the whole thing. I actually remember that the first time I felt something like that was working with a guy for a landscaping business, and he had a Jeep Wrangler. It was red. And one day we had to go and do sales stuff. I can't remember. We had to run around and we had to put flyers out and stuff like that. We were just going to spend the day doing that. And he took the doors and the roof off of his Jeep. And that was my first experience of driving around without doors on a car. And that blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is super cool. You see the road, the wind, the whole thing. Like, it was all messy and windy, but I really enjoyed it. It was kind of exhilarating, and that's a common word. That's the word I'm going to be using for talking about the motorcycle. Because when I bought the motorcycle, uh, that whole thing was exhilarating. And now when I equate that back to having windows rolled down, that is the reminder. That's the emotional anchor for my windows being rolled down. Feeling the wind and driving the convertible. We had a convertible growing up. We had a 1979, I think it was, Ford LTD custom convertible. Electric everything. Electric bent seats, power door locks, power steering, power brakes, power roof. And we used to bomb around in that as teenagers, like having the wind in your hair, the face, and the whole thing. We had an 8-track player in it, and those old 50s tunes, 60s tunes. It was a gas. Like, it was fun driving around in that car. And I think that's lost in modern cars. Like, the fun, the exhilaration of fun in cars is kind of gone that way. It's disappeared. Because cars are built so safe now and sealed so well. Because, I remember in the 90s or early 2000s, finally getting into like the newer made cars, and you'd roll down the windows and you'd hear buffeting. Remember that on my first Civic I bought there, brand new, and get the whoop, 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 whoop from the wind, right? I didn't like windows being down for that. I figured out a way though. You roll down all the windows are down to a certain point, and it stops doing that. You just get the wind noise, hear the cars going by, things like that, and to feel the wind on your face. And just remember, the first cars ever built they didn't have windows. They were horse wagons with motors on them, right? And you get up to speed in them, and it's exhilarating. You get to, you're part of nature, sort of. It's kind of a way to feel that way. If you're an AC person, I get it. It's A to B, it's a shell, and on the hot days, I use AC too. But it's not my go-to. It's not my go-to. Time passes. Not yet. But yeah, leave it in the comments. Are you the windows down kind of person, and why? And why do you drive with the windows down? Like, I don't feel more connected to the car or anything like that as a result. That was a bad idea. And I don't feel connected to nature, I guess you could say, with the windows being down. It's nothing like that. It's just, I don't know. So I don't have hair. So it's nothing about, the wind being in my hair. Wind in my face, I guess. It's just something, I don't know, the exhilaration of driving. I guess as a kid, when you stuck your you stuck your hand out the window and you got to feel the wind on your hand. There was something to that, and I still do that today. I'll roll down my window and I put my hand in the wind and I push against the wind, or I'll put my hand through the wind. You get to feel it. It's weird. I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? If you know what it is, write it in the comments. Hit the like button. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.